Why leadership needs to be relearned. Some of them might already heard of it, and I told you big things are coming, and then the big thing came. I was just published in the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, the FAZ. It's the most relevant, most important, and by far most influential newspaper when it comes to free enterprise and the economy. For people in the UK, this is the equivalent to being published in The Guardian, The Economist at the same time, and probably the Guardian, The Economist, and The New Yorker at the same time. So I am very happy and very thankful for it to be published as a leadership expert with a full page, which I never expected to happen, a full page in the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, which is the Frankfurt newspaper. And I received quite a number of emails, a lot of emails to be fair. And I'm going through all your answers and your questions. And many people ask for if it is possible to have a commented edition, especially in English, because the article, of course, in Frankfurt, Germany is in German. Is it possible to have a translated and commented edition of the article? And yes, it is. And that's why we are here today. I will have a commented edition, so you will get the original article, and I will always reference that is the article and that is the comment. So you get even more out of it. Also, I want to give full access to this article to anyone. Some people might not be able to read or might be able to access the Frankfurt newspaper. And that's why we, of course, want to be free of any kind of barriers that stand in between knowledge and people. So, of course, we give free access to anyone here who is interested in becoming a better leader. So, starting with the article now, I will, of course, give quote and credit the source of it. So please listen closely to where the article is and where my comment is. So you get even more out of the article than the people who only read the article. Congratulations for that. And here we go. Niels Brabandt in the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, FAZ, it's abbreviated, why leadership needs to be relearned. Corona, digitization, remote work, the environment is changing rapidly. Source, the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, published on October the 4th, 2021, number 230, page B5. So, article, why leadership has to be relearned. Corona, digitization, remote work. The environment is changing rapidly. An article by Niels Brabandt. As a result of the pandemic, the world of work has changed like it never did in the past few decades. This aspect affected me as well. For months, I ran my business from Gran Canaria instead of working in London. An almost non-controllable coronavirus was rampant in Great Britain. In Spain, there was a strict curfew with very few exceptions to leaving the place in which you lived. It worked. However, we could see that many organizations found it difficult to adapt. The demands in respect to leadership have changed fundamentally during the pandemic. Not all executives seem to accept this. Imagine hearing City of London executives like Andrew Monk or David Solomon, Goldman Sachs CEO, who condemns work from home and even calls it an aberration. In these cases, we see that some organizations seem to be out of touch with the reality of a highly competitive market in which talent is scarce. And the source here is the BBC, which is linked in the article. Other companies from the consulting industry, such as Deloitte or PricewaterhouseCoopers, on the other hand, offered quick reactions and innovative, modern approaches for the so-called new normal. The question remains, how does your organization, how do your managers have to position themselves to hold a future-proof position? Commentary. I have to say I was quite shocked when I saw the situation in which we were as soon as we came to the end of the pandemic. And I have to put it into quite strong wording. So when you're easily offended, I can't help it, but I have to use a word which I rarely use in the UK, and that is that certain corporations are deliberately lying to people. And I saw it in my own circle of friends. In my circle of friends, people applied for different positions, and what was offered was flexible work. And not only were many of these approaches debatable at best, the worst one was where in the job ad it said flexible work options, no problem. So during the interview process where he had to travel to London, they said, yeah, that's a bit of an advertising and there are different approaches. It's a bit difficult here. So you have to talk to your manager if he allows you to do that. And normally every 5 or 6 weeks, a long weekend like Friday, Monday from home, that should be okay. But I don't know if they would allow more. But we can't guarantee that here in this interview now. You have to talk to your manager then. And that's where we are. People are deliberately promising what they know people want to hear, but when you offer that, you have to live by your promises. You have to live by the standards you claim to have. And many organizations do not. And that's what brings us straight back to the article and to the next paragraph. Understanding motivation. Numerous organizations advertise on their website with phrases such as, "Our focus is on our people," to attract talent. In addition to the mandatory question, "Who else should be in your focus?" a look at the rating portals for employers shows a picture that shows little or no congruence with those institutions' self-perceptions. Flexibility at work, only if necessary and only then. This statement seems to be the new mantra for many organizations. After the pandemic, even companies known for innovation quickly showed that a control mentality is still the offer of the day. Employees were quickly called back to the offices. Days for working from home were regulated, specified, and made subject to approval. We see here how quickly the change from the focus on people to a command culture happened. Companies like Microsoft, which were often not considered the most innovative organizations for a long time, caught the attention of executives with brief guidelines and policies such as offer as much flexibility as possible. They quickly gained the attention of talents. Of course, you will not be able to solve everything in a one-size-fits-all scenario of remote work. Employees know this. However, suppose you ignore the inner mission, the motivation which drives your employees' passion. In that case, you should not be surprised if the only increase in the company is not productivity or profit, but the employee turnover. Commentary. Many organizations and many industries now realize that they are short of workforce. And some of them know where this comes from. Some of them know it's either Brexit related or regulation industry related, or they know it's hard to gain talent anyway, but that's often an excuse, the last one. One of the reasons why people left their jobs is because during the pandemic you didn't treat them well. Many people heard the phrase, "You need to find a job. It's not someone else's job to give you work." And then they found a new job. Remember when people told restaurant workers that if you can't get along with the money you get paid, get a different job? Well, now they did. And every restaurant is short-staffed. And that is not only on the operational level. You talk to organizations, and while many of them hope that during the pandemic the markets are going to turn the tables, so suddenly we can choose again as employers from a huge source of talent on the market, the opposite happened. People rethought their approach to life, to work-life balance, and quickly realized that when you are one of these organizations that will just get back to the old normal and you have to work from our offices and you have to come here and you will be forced to do so, people will simply go for a different offer. Because leadership has to change, and it has to change dramatically, significantly. It has to change more than any change we had in at least the last 2 to 3 decades. And that brings us straight back to the article and the next paragraph. Leadership changes. In numerous business schools, managers still get taught to find their leadership style and then follow it. Unfortunately, this is a highly self-centered attitude towards leadership. Consequently, phrases like, "I'm a bit loud, don't take it personally," can still be heard during daily business. The advance notice of leaders' misconduct does not legitimize their behavior. Leaders have to know which aspect, inside or outside of the professional world, really drive their employees. These aspects can be far beyond the project and corporate world. Trust is essential for knowing the authentic inner mission of one's workforce. However, this is only granted in the case of a motivation-oriented, employee-oriented leadership approach. In addition, managers themselves are often unfamiliar with the fundamental difference between a transactional, more instruction-based, and a transformational, more meaning-oriented leadership approach. When it comes to applying different approaches, showing an understanding of leadership roles, whether authoritarian, permissive, or cooperative approaches are necessary in that situation for the decision-making process, it quickly becomes apparent that situational leadership is rarely used or known as a concept. Moreover, a common misperception is the fact that leadership is no longer legitimized throughout formal qualifications today. Younger generations, in particular, are not impressed by titles or arrogance. In other words, they don't care whether you work in the leadership team, corporate headquarters, executive office, or if you are a director holding some corner office space position. Hierarchical legitimation, a purely formally driven attempt to legitimize leaders, does not work anymore. Leaders are accepted and respected on a social level and thus legitimized throughout interpersonal aspects of their work and their demonstrated behavior. Skills regarding the field in which your business operates, demonstrated expertise, a living culture of sustainability and showing a leadership idea and the practice of a daily business are much more important than formal aspects which often relate to formalities that lie far in the past. Unfortunately, many leaders' knowledge is often very modest and is based primarily on the emergence of pop science and pseudo-scientific books, which, all following the principles of X steps to Y, offer a quick, uncomplicated, and completely unsubstantiated approach which will never work in reality. Publications with titles like 7 Steps to Be a Better Manager or 99 Tips for Better Projects. It is easy to make some sales with them. However, no real solutions beyond layman's science, tear-off calendar page slogans and truisms are offered. Neither a company nor a society can exist based on content-free and unsubstantiated inspirational motivational phrases, let alone be managed successfully in the long term. Most of the time, you see the same people behind these pseudo-scientific non-wisdoms. The so-called speakers are an entertainment trend imported from the United States of America, which offer lectures with a pseudo-scientific touch. Easy entertainment without substance, facts and evidence. This trend made the leading people development scientist and researcher, Professor Uwe Cunning, write the article Speaker, from being a profession to being a swear word. Commentary. About this last paragraph, I received by far the most hate mail. And here is a message to all the people, either the speakers who work in this motivational, inspirational industry, or people who follow these people. My message to you is, go get a life. Seriously, it is hard to talk to you because you're already following people, or you are one of the people that do not stick to facts or science. You all say work hard, believe in you, and the world is going to be your oyster. This is nothing. Nothing in life works like you tell people it does. And that makes you so dangerous. It is tremendously important that the focus of every decision is facts, science, evidence, proof. A structured approach to see what is the factual situation. And the situation might be grim. And it might be so grim that there is very little optimism left. But at least you know what you now have to deal with, instead of sitting in your office telling people believe in yourself and hoping that suddenly, magically, the tables turn and your business is running better. That will never happen. Never, ever will any of these pseudo-scientific approaches change anything in your organization for the better. You're wasting your money, and the reason why you like to waste your money on this is because it feels so good. Because motivational, inspirational speakers do nothing else than giving you hope. They sell the hope. Anyone can be a CEO, anyone can be a speaker, anyone can be a trainer, anyone can be XYZ. You pay them and they will tell you that anyone can be anything as long as you work hard. And when you look into society, it is very different indeed. And that leads us straight back to the article and to the last paragraph of it. Dare to innovate. To bring real innovation into the organization today, it takes more than just promoting supposedly simple concepts. ISO standards, ITIL, Scrum, Agile, all of these methods are undoubtedly justified as long as they are implemented, accompanied by professional measures for the introduction and anchoring process. However, to receive the necessary acceptance and motivation in the workforce, the most critical aspect remains excellent leadership. Remember, this aspect is what you are promoting on your organization's website and in your company. It is vital to follow the promise, live by the values you and your organization claims to have, and show a corresponding course of action. Modern approaches to remote work, career options that include an adequate work-life balance, the mastery of motivation and situational leadership, taking into account transformational aspects, and the recognition that the legitimation of your leaders is now based on social and not on formal aspects. Only when you fulfill all these expectations, people will follow your leaders. Leadership is not easy. Otherwise, we would not have the problems which we face today. Always remember, only when you provide excellent leadership, you will be able to make your organization better, more sustainable, and above all, future-proof. These aspects are especially relevant concerning innovation and digitization. Niels Brabandt works as a leadership expert for more than 20 years and lives in London. End of the article. So when we talk about innovation, especially innovation is often closely connected to digitization in today's times, we see that when you want to win, develop and retain talented people, and you know that you need them to get your organization to where it has to be future-proof, future-ready, you cannot rely on the concepts you applied since the 1970s. And I know that some people will now easily say, oh, we're a bit conservative, or our industry struggles to change. Yeah, you can say that. But please then don't complain about lack of talent. When your industry is reluctant to change, it will go the way of the dodo and the way of the dinosaur and the way of any other animal that was not able to change. When you're not able to change and adopt to the circumstances in which you are, your organization goes extinct, and as soon as you weaken, either a competitor buys you and closes you down, purchases you, restructures you. You know the drill. And it's not the first time you hear that. I know that this can be very straightforward, and as you see, this is a German newspaper, and I gave you the English translation of the article. The words are very straightforward. I never aim to offend anyone, but I am not booked as a trainer, coach, consultant, or speaker, or however you want to name it. I am never in my life have been booked to only tell people everything will be all right. Because without proper actions, it will not be all right. We have challenges ahead of us, and it's very important that we're going to face them. Of course, we can now start a discussion, and I'm happy to do so. Please write me an email, nb@nb-networks.com, nb@nb-networks.com. And I'm happy to discuss with you because I really appreciate the many emails that came in after you saw, either in the Frankfurt newspaper itself or on my social media channel, that this happened. I'm incredibly proud, and it's due to your support that this happened. You are part of this success, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. However, it is now important that we implement actions. I'm happy to help you with that. Of course, it is important that your organization also changes for what you need to be able to deliver when it comes to leadership in the future. And this is why it is important to implement these steps now in your organization. I'm happy to help you with it. I wish you all the best doing it. And at the end of this podcast, and as I told you before already, this podcast again went top 100. I just received the email a couple of hours ago. It again went top 100, ranked 77 in Germany today. And I'm incredibly thankful for you listening over and over again to my voice. So thank you very much for that. So at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing for me left to say. Thank you very much for your time.